I am Bindu. Do you like visiting forests? In this video, let us watch an interesting topic, forest and wildlife. From the lesson Natural Resources of class 10th Biology. Our earth has an abundance of natural resources. In previous classes, you have learned about natural resources like water, soil, forests, flora, fauna, etc. and their conservation. So, why are forests important? Forests are biodiversity hotspots. And include various species of different life forms like bacteria, fungi, ferns, flowering plants, nematodes, insects, birds, reptiles, and so on. One of the main aims of conservation is to try and preserve biodiversity. Experiments and field studies suggest that loss of diversity may lead to the loss of ecological stability. Forests produce various products and we are dependent on different forest resources. Learning objectives. After the completion of this lesson, you will be able to understand about stakeholders of forests, deforestation and its effects, biodiversity and conservation, management of forest. Keywords: deforestation, biodiversity, conservation, sustainability, caged trees, Chipko Andolan. Let us observe this concept map on forest and wildlife natural resources. The conservation of forests needs to be looked at by the stakeholders. The people living in or around forests are dependent on forest products. The forest department of the government owns the land and controls the resources generated from forests. The industrialists are not dependent on the forest in any one area and use various forest products such as tendu leaves to make beedis and other products in paper mills. Wildlife and nature enthusiasts want to conserve nature in its original form. The local people require large quantities of firewood. Small timber and roof building material for shelter. Bamboo is used to make slats for huts. And baskets for collecting and storing food materials. Implements for agriculture, fishing and hunting are largely made of wood. The forest provides sites for fishing and hunting. People gather fruits, nuts and medicines from the forest. The cattle also graze in forest areas or feed on the fodder collected from forests. The continuous overuse of forest resources would lead to the exhaustion of these resources. The British, who ruled India, had developed practices for the resources to be used in a sustainable manner, but exploited them ruthlessly for their selfish purposes. The Forest Department of independent India took over on that duty after the British. But the local needs continued to be ignored in the management practices. Thus, vast tracts of forests have been converted to monocultures of pine, teak or eucalyptus. To plant these trees, huge areas are first cleared of all vegetation. This destroys a large amount of biodiversity in the area. Industries would consider the forest as a source of raw material for their factories. Huge interest groups lobby the government for gaining access to these raw materials at low prices. They are not interested in the sustainability of the forest in any one particular area. For example, after cutting down all the teak trees in one area, they will get their teak from another far away forest. Nature and wildlife enthusiasts are not dependent on the forests. but may have a significant role in their management. The conservationists were initially taken up with large animals like lions, tigers, elephants, and rhinoceros, but now they have recognized the need to preserve biodiversity as a whole. People clear forests to use the wood or to make way for development. Each year, the earth loses about 36 million acres of forest due to deforestation. Deforestation destroys wildlife habitats and increases soil erosion. It contributes to global warming by accounting for 15% of greenhouse gas emission. Deforestation also harms the people's livelihood by hunting and gathering, harvesting forest products, or using timber for firewood. Sustainable forestry practices are critical for ensuring availability of resources in the future. For example, we can take the case of the Bishnoi community living in western Rajasthan on the border of the Thar Desert. Conservation of forests and wildlife has been a religious tenet for them. For centuries, these nature-loving people have been conserving the flora and fauna to the extent of sacrificing their lives to protect the environment. The Government of India has recently instituted an award named Amrita Devi Bishnoi National Award for Wildlife Conservation. This award is given in memory of Amrita Devi Bishnoi, who in 1731 sacrificed her life along with 363 others for the protection of Kejri trees in Kejrali village near Jodhpur in Rajasthan. We can also replace some wood products with alternatives like bamboo, which is a type of grass. Forest resources are to be used in both environmentally and developmentally conscious ways. The environment is not simply a collection of plants and animals, but is a vast and complex entity with several natural resources reserved for our use. These resources should be used carefully for economic and social growth. The Chencho tribe of Andhra Pradesh state is aware of carefully extracting resources from nature and helping in reviving it. Some sustainable forestry methods include using low impact logging practices and harvesting with natural regeneration in mind. We should avoid removing all the high value trees or all the largest trees from a forest. Trees can also be conserved if consumers recycle paper and other such related products. People in China and Mexico reuse waste paper, writing paper, wrapping paper, cardboard, etc. to promote the practice of recycling. Biodiversity is the variety of living things that populate the earth. The products and benefits we get from nature rely on biodiversity. When a species becomes extinct, it is lost to the world forever. Scientists estimate that the current rate of extinction is 1,000 times than that of the natural rate. Through hunting, pollution, and habitat destruction, people are speeding up the loss of biodiversity at an alarming rate. Scientists discover thousands of new species every year. For example, in 19 trees in Panama, scientists found 1,200 different species of beetles. 80% of which were unknown to science at the time. The earth could be losing 200 to 1 lakh species of organisms with each passing year. We need to protect biodiversity to ensure plentiful and varied food sources. Not only for food, but about 50,000 to 70,000 plant species are used for medicines worldwide. Management of forest. The Chipko Andolan, Hug the Trees movement, originated from a remote village in the Himalayas called Raini in Garhwal during the early 1970s. There was a dispute between the villagers and a logging contractor who had been allowed to make trees fall in a forest close to the village. The women of the village clasped the tree trunks, thus preventing the workers from making the trees fall. The Chipko movement quickly spread across communities and media and forced the government to rethink priorities in the use of forest products. Therefore, careful management and protection are required for the conservation of forest and wildlife resources. In 1972, the West Bengal Forest Department recognized its failures in reviving the degraded sal forests. Forest and land-related conflicts in the region were also a major factor in fueling the militant peasant movements led by the Naxalites. The department changed to the Arabari system forest range of the Midnapore district. The forest officer A.K. Banerjee insisted and involved in the villagers in the protection of 1272 hectares of degraded sal forest area. In return, villagers were given employment in both silviculture and 25% of the final harvest.